Okay, today we're going to take a look at page 634, numbers 7 through 9. And as a reminder, earlier in class, you were supposed to write down the double and half angle formulas from page 634. The power reducing formulas we're not responsible for in our state mandated curriculum, so you don't need to write those on the form. But we're going to start on page 634, number 7. And in number 7, they tell us that the sine of theta is 15/17, and that this angle lies in quadrant 2. So the very first thing you're going to do is to draw your triangle in this quadrant. So here is quadrant 2, and here's my triangle, and this meets at a right angle. I'm going to note that. And sine of theta is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So I need to use the Pythagorean theorem to find out this missing side. So 15 squared plus b squared equals 17 squared. So I can use my calculator here to help me out with that. So 15 squared is 225. And 17 squared is 289. So 289 minus 225 is going to be 64. So b squared, 64. So b has to be 8. So from this, I can determine that the cosine of theta is going to be 8 over 17. And the thing about this one is that since it's in quadrant 2, the only thing that's positive is sine. And the tangent of theta is going to be opposite over adjacent, so that's 15/8, and that is also going to be negative. So now, in problem 7, they give us the formula from page 634. This is not on your index card. You should put it on your index card. So we're going to take a look at using the formula, the sine of 2 theta. So 2 times 15/17 times negative 8/17 is going to be the sine of 2 theta. So remember, you do put 2 over 1, and so we multiply the top of our fraction. We multiply 2 times 15 times negative 8. And that's going to give us negative 240. And we know that 17 times 17 is 289. So we would try and reduce that, but I don't think that one will reduce. So for the cosine, if you remember on your index card, there's 3 different formulas. You only need to use one formula. Pick one. I like this one, but you're welcome to use one of the others. So cosine is negative 8/17. I'm going to square that, minus the sine squared, and if you recall, the sine was 15/17. So this is going to be equal to, oh, we have to square this one too, don't we? Oh, that's kind of weird. Let's pause that for a moment. Okay, now we've got it rolling here. I meant to pause that, but it didn't pause. So we have 64 over 289 minus 225 over 289. Remember, when you square a fraction, you multiply the top times itself and the bottom times itself. So let's pull up our calculator here, and we have 64 minus 225. So that's going to be negative 161 over 289. So, make sure we're on our pen. Negative 161 over 289. Okay, next we're going to take a look at the tangent. And so, thinking about the tangent, we have 2 times the tangent of theta, and the tangent was negative 15/8. So we have 2 times negative 15/8. And this is going to be 1 minus negative 15/8 squared. Now, without a calculator, some of us are kind of stuck with this, but the fraction piece of it is not too bad. So let's go ahead and work through this. 2 over 1, so this is going to be negative 38 for the numerator, and for the denominator, it's going to be 1 plus, remember I have to square this, I'm sorry, that's not going to be a plus. It's going to be 1 minus, because when you square this, it does turn out to be a positive number. So this is 225 over 64. So we're going to use a common denominator, and our common denominator is going to be 64 for the bottom. So this will turn out to be 64, negative 38, keeping the numerator. And we're going to divide this by the denominator. So this is going to be 64 over 64 with the common denominator minus 225 over 64. So we have 64 minus 225. So that's 161, and we did that a little earlier. So it's negative. So we have 38 times 64 over 161, and it was negative. So the 8's cancel with the 64, and so we have 240 over 161, and it's positive because a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, on to number 9. Number 9 tells us that the cosine of theta is 24/25, and that it lies in quarter 4. So the first step is to draw your triangle in quadrant 4. So it's going to be in this quadrant. And cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So let's be sure and label that appropriately. And we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. 25 squared equals 24 squared plus b squared. And when I use the calculator, the Pythagorean theorem shows me that b has to be 7. So this is 7. Now I'm able to see that the sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse, or 7/25, and that the tangent is opposite over adjacent, and that is 7/24. Now, The angle is in quadrant 4. So cosine is the only one that's positive in quadrant 4, so we do need to make these two negative. In question number 9, they're asking us to find the sine of 2 theta. So 2 times negative 7/25 times 24/25. So to remember, you put 2 over 1 and you do your multiplication. So as a fraction, we do multiply these straight across. 2 times 7 times 24. And that's 336. And it is going to be negative because we have one negative sign in there. So this is equal to negative 336. And 25 times 25 times 1 is 625. So we could see if that reduces on our calculator. Let's see. Put it in as a fraction. And 336 over 625. And I'm thinking maybe not because, because it's all divisible by 5. Okay? So that one is simple. Now again, remember, for cosine, you only have to pick one formula. So again, I like to do the first one, 24/25 squared minus negative 7/25 squared, and that's going to be sorry, I'm in the graphing piece. Let's try getting out of there. So 24/25 and the whole thing is squared. You might not like that one. I'm going to take it out. Minus and I'm going to put my negative in first. Minus negative 7/25. And that one's also squared. We get 527 over 625. And finally, the tangent. So I get 2 times negative 7/24 over 1 minus negative 7/24 squared. So let's enter that into our calculator. So we have a big fraction. So 2 times my fraction is negative 7 over 24. And then 1 minus my fraction. And remember, this one's squared. So negative 7/24. And the whole fraction is squared. So I got out of the fraction to square it. And here we have negative 336. over, what was it over? 527. Okay, so you need to complete numbers 7 through 14. And there are a couple of cotangent problems on there. For those problems, you would use tangent so use the tangent of 2 theta and use the reciprocal because cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent.